forget it. This is a real jinky type of put together podcast.
It's the third podcast. It's all good, man.
So yeah. Anyway, formal introduction again. Well, this is Sedia.
Hey.
We saw him in episode 1.
No.
Today we are here to talk about The Odyssey. Oh man, what a fantastic film.
Yeah.
I want to hear your thoughts first because I feel like mine are real. I don't want to say basic, but obviously, as you know personally, I've let you know, like, I've seen this movie 3 times, all in IMAX. Not 70 millimeter, which I do plan on seeing, but
Okay.
I am interested to hear the criticism first.
Okay, that's funny. Because we did talk on the phone a little bit about it. I saw it. I didn't see it as many times, and I didn't really want to.
Yeah.
I saw it once, and I thought once was enough.
Okay.
Not to say that it was bad, but I don't think it's great, personally, for a couple of different reasons.
Okay.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm an expert on the original story.
Okay.
Because that would also be a lie.
Did you read it?
I did. I read it in high school.
Okay, that's when I read it.
But, I mean, that was high school. And so
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I remember it.
Okay.
I don't remember every detail.
Right.
I remember some of the iconic moments in it.
Yeah.
I think one of the most ones is, I think the one that they messed up the most was Cyclops, the Cyclops scene.
Yeah.
With the nobody.
Yeah. Right.
That's an iconic scene, and even
Odysseus's character, just in particular with that scene, is not as witty. Or I shouldn't say witty, but he's not as charismatic.
Yeah. And I think my biggest issue, though, if I had to sum it up, would be because I do remember enough of the story to remember that it is one of the greatest stories in Western civilization.
Right.
It's an amazing fictional story. Got all these different things. But the theme of returning home and the will and what it takes, despite what gets in your way, come hell or high water, as it were.
Are you speaking in terms of specifically this story, or are you
just
speaking in the general
terms of the book?
Okay, because this movie, as you know, added a lot.
It did
more messaging.
It did, and that's why, like, the overall arcing message of the original book,
right?
I thought was one of the things that it mainly missed, where he does want to go home,
right?
And I think changing it in that sense misses the story of how determined he was to get home,
right,
despite the challenges he faced.
Okay.
And eventually they do get there,
right,
at the end of the movie. But that's one small aspect. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say I know everything about the Odyssey, that
right,
I remember all the details.
No.
The fundamental story I remember very vividly. And that was one thing I didn't walk out feeling.
That's an interesting take on that, because, and I think that's the first time I'm hearing that. For me personally, I'm not going to say it's not out there, but that's interesting that you say that, because I got kind of the opposite of that.
Okay.
I get what he was saying, because I'm sure you're referring to him literally saying in the movie that there was a moment where the sirens told him, or
he doesn't want to go home.
He doesn't want to go home. I took that as he doesn't want to go home as the person that left Ithaca, him not wanting to return as the same person, because I felt that him coming to the realization that they talk so much about the warning of the sea people coming and taking over the lands of different, whether it was Ithaca, whether it was lands that they were invading. That's what I got from the story, that he did want to come home, obviously for his wife and child, but not for the wrong reasons, because he didn't want to return as that monster. Because I think at one point he calls himself a monster or something like that in those terms. So that's interesting that you got the message of he didn't want to go back at all.
Well, it also, because yes, I do understand that symbolism they were trying to draw on, that they were his crew were the evil sea people, the raiders.
That so many people were warned about.
Yeah, and I think that was a little bit ridiculous because, I mean, I get, not in the sense of I think that idea is ridiculous, because I do understand what the film's doing there, but I think it's ridiculous in that sense of that he's so broken from the war in Troy. These men back in the day are not modern men with their modern sensibilities and ideology of today.
Right.
These fictional tales and the men that wrote them, they were warriors.
Right.
In that culture of the time. Him pulling off that victory, he would not have, in that moment, when they opened the gates and they let everyone in,
Right.
to Troy, he wouldn't feel that remorse.
Right, and he didn't in the book.
And exactly.
Yeah.
He's a war hero.
Right.
And he's a conquering, like, he's brought them home, brought them this great victory.
Mm-hmm.
So to have them change that part of his character also, and also making exceedingly dumber and dumber decisions on the way, not just ignoring the source material that it came before, specifically putting him in situations where every single dumb decision led them worse and worse down a worse path, where from the second he starts, when they are leaving when they're leaving Troy, and they're like, well, why aren't we following the main trade routes? I don't want to follow because I think he's like, I followed Agamemnon enough. And it's from the reason why he feels that way is because he's guilting over what the victory was. And so in that sense, okay, now he's like, I don't want to go. So immediately he takes off in a different direction, making one mistake. Then they end up, I believe right after that, they end up where the Cyclops is.
Right. Look,
And
just so I could respond to that, because I will forget.
okay, go ahead.
That's fun. That, again, interesting take, because I took it as he didn't want to follow Agamemnon because of how power hungry Agamemnon was. And I thought that he got the sense of, I already did this guy, because they clearly explained it before setting sail to take over Troy, that Agamemnon was doing this not because Helen was actually taken or whether she left willingly, but he was doing this because he wanted power over the trade routes.
Yeah.
So I
think it's portrayed that way even in
the
movie Troy,
right?
And I believe
he doesn't actually care about Helen. Helen was the excuse.
Yeah,
to launch the 1,000 ships.
I believe, according to what's known about that fictional story or that story,
Right.
is that wasn't the case. Apparently, they are in a they make a pact amongst the Greeks, if I remember the history correctly, of that story. And the reason, that trade reason, is not a heavy reason. It's mainly because when the Greeks all the Greek kings wanted to marry Helen, and Helen
fell in love with Paris. Yes,
but when she takes off, when she finally chooses the Spartan king,
Paris.
No, the Spartan. Sparta's king. Anyways, yes,
John Bernthal's character.
Yes. So, anyways, she chooses him, and or however it happens, people in the comment section probably know, or other historians know. But anyways,
right.
That's how the agreement is supposedly. That, okay, Sparta has her, we're not going to go to war or anything, but if for whatever reason something does happen with this woman, then we unite together.
Right.
And when then Paris comes through and she leaves with him, it's that pact created together with the other kings is what draws them out.
Okay.
But again, I didn't know.
Is that a part? Because I didn't watch the Troy movie myself. Is that a part?
That's not a part of the Troy movie.
Okay.
The movie is specifically only trade routes.
Okay.
And that's so. Again, that's one. If I remember it correctly, and I could be mistaken, and if I am, I apologize.
No. No. Okay. Menelaus was that
Menelaus.
one. Again, going back to him not wanting to follow Agamemnon, I took that as he clearly did this guy's deed, his king's, deed or whatever, overthrowing Troy. And he already felt so much guilt over that, that maybe he didn't want to follow him on those trade routes because he felt that Agamemnon, it would just be an excuse for Agamemnon to maybe overthrow or overtake more spots on that same trade route. That's what I kind of took from it. Because why would you? It's like you working with your boss for 10 years straight, not having a break, and then it's like you have the option to go straight home, or you have the option to follow him on the way home and possibly have more tasks thrown at you. And that's kind of what I took from that. And again, clearly Odysseus knows that Agamemnon is, I don't want to say unhinged, but he's not a very merciful person.
Yeah.
So that sense of, not wanting to do that, I think that's what I would do. Whether, again, it was about, taking on, and that's strictly about taking on task. That's not even what you were saying about, in terms of, the men of those times would not feel that kind of remorse. I don't know how I get that. I totally do, because these are men with different thought processes.
Yeah.
They don't live in, our modern standard times. I do get that, but on the same token, we are talking about a real age where these stories were being written, where this story in particular, and even in the movie, they say it is the end of the Bronze Age. That message of of breaking, that they were the first ones to break Zeus's law, and not just Zeus's law, but they compromised man as a whole. You know what I mean? Because prior to that, it was much simpler of times of, we go to war, we do it with respect. Now, Odysseus, making, being more tactile in his plans of war, it, literally changed the evolution of war and time and the way people think and the way people work. You know what I mean? So I think that was a big thing for me, why I enjoyed that message so much, because we do, and Christopher Nolan does it a lot in his movies, where he talks about different, his characters having all that regret, you know what I mean, of the action that they just made. I didn't watch Oppenheimer, but I hear that's the thing.
Yeah,
has that moment
bomb.
of regret, what did I do to the world, type of thing. And I felt like that was the similar theming in this movie, which I enjoy that stuff, because to me it forces everyone to take a deeper look into themselves. That's why I don't mind that, of to me it's oh, what a concept, I get it, these men thought in different times, but what a concept somebody had some kind of remorse or guilt, you know what I mean? I don't think it's such a bad thing that someone has the thought process of damn, having some regret, and the way...
I don't think that is the issue. I think the issue stems from when you change a story, when you change a character who we already know to be one way, and it goes back to when anyone tries to change story, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
This is just one example that we know there's already pre-existing lore for.
Right.
It's the same thing why I have my complaints, not that we're there yet, and I don't want to jump too much on this tangent, but it parallels because they do the same thing with Star Wars. These characters, we saw them a certain way. We know they're a certain type of way in how they're written and how their actions are. They should be one way. When you go in and go back through these characters and then take what you want and in place new things and fundamentally change the character when you know what's there before,
right,
then there becomes an issue, a greater issue of that. Not that you can't tell those stories, because I do think that those are good stories. A good regret, redemption, what it means to feel that, to break civilization, as it were, as you said. The way war was conducted at the time in this movie is very honorable, until the trick of the Trojan horse.
Yeah.
And so you can tell the story. I think the mainline issue that I have with it, and I have with any storytelling that changes a character that has been written a certain way or told a certain way,
right,
and then you fundamentally change that, because now what you're doing is you're putting a new take on the character that fundamentally changes who they are. But your idea in changing it is to bring this character to a new light, not to elevate what's before, but to erase what's before. It's not look back. You can look back at this. I'm gonna erase it so you know this is the story. And I think that's why there's so much debate and topic on this, is because people who know the original story, who know how it is, how that was written, are so upset, and because it boils down to going back to Star Wars, how many things have been changed. People get upset when you mess with Luke Skywalker, for example. That's a character that we've known and seen, and then you go through and you fundamentally change him.
Right.
Because then another generation grows up who's never seen the original trilogies or has never read the Odyssey book, and they believe this is the character that they're watching, and it's the original.
But I think that brings up a greater question then, and that is a good way to look at it. But my thing is, does that mean that iteration means nothing and that nobody can tell a different story with this character? And I say that because look at how many different iterations of just superheroes we get. Look, and they change fundamental things about these characters that we know and love. Now, the core principles may still be there, but they do change over time. And like, you could go from little examples to big examples, whether it's Spider-Man. He started off as this nerdy geek scientist, and now in modern iterations they have him as a social media influencer, and we talked about that. So my thing is, like, does iterations, you know what I mean, like I said, does it mean nothing? Like, nobody can do it anymore, like nobody can and should do it? That is where my problem stems from it. And I think that's kind of the beautiful thing about the characters, is that especially during a story like this that we haven't seen in Odyssey.
Real quick.
Oh, go ahead.
Because I want to answer it before I forget, because you did ask a question, and I feel like you're going to drop different things and we're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah, go ahead.
So to answer your question, no, I don't think that you can't iterate something when there's the prevalence to, because you just brought up comics, and what a great medium, like you say, to change iterations.
Right.
Comic books are known for that, though. You see, there is never just been one version of Spider-Man, one version of Batman, one version of
universes.
However, when you come through a story where there has been only one version or one timeline, like Star Wars,
okay,
they are those characters, and there is nothing. Yes, you can go around, you can create new characters around here.
Well, quick question: isn't there different, like, even prior to Disney buying them, wasn't there comics and stuff that were considered canon? But they weren't canon to the film, right? Right,
and that's not what I mean. I mean, in terms of that timeline, there is not multiverses. There is no different iterations of Luke Skywalker. Okay. There is no different iterations of Leia. There's no different iterations of Han.
So, in terms of the movies that we're talking,
and even in comics, books, the characters stay the same. Yes, they grow. they change. They have character arcs. They have
Right.
character development. No,
I only question that because I'm sure there has to be at some point in all that history prior to Disney buying it.
No.
Where but really quick. There has to be at some point where from the start of New Hope, the movie,
okay.
through all the different mediums of Star Wars, I would imagine up until Disney bought it, the day of, let's just say, that there has to be some point in Luke's story of not just the movies again, that somebody contested. I don't think Luke would do this, or I don't think Luke would.
Oh, I'm sure there's the debate.
You know what I mean?
But
that's what I'm.
That's a different question then too, because now you're taking them on a journey that changes because even with that, right? Mm-hmm. Luke. So let's say we'll plop Luke right after the end of Return of the Jedi,
right?
And the next trilogy that came out in the 70s was Heir to the Empire. And the Thrawn trilogy, amazing book. If you haven't read it, that's an amazing trilogy. You should read it. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But Luke still stays the same. Yes, he's grown. He asks questions, but he's relatively the same Luke you see in Return of the Jedi.
Same principles.
Now, fast forward to, I believe, after the Yuuzhan Vong War, when Luke is his nephews and nieces are grown up. And Luke is married to Mara Jade. He has his own son. So in that time frame, so many things change in your life. And as people, we grow and we change. Life experiences stay
Not the same person we were yesterday.
Right. But even though you change, your core values remain.
Right.
That doesn't change. Usually, that doesn't change.
Usually, because there are people, even in real life, where they go to somebody does something that you don't expect is capable, whether they kill someone, whether they commit a robbery, whatever, or whatever. They blow up on social media. You could. There's some things that But go ahead.
But no. So usually. That's the case. It's not one cookie cutter example.
Straightforward path.
You know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So, to give an example of that is Luke is still the optimist. He's still very much not. He's still who we know Luke Skywalker to be in that time frame. However, when his wife, spoiler alert, when his wife dies. At the hands of his nephew, he kills her. Luke Skywalker takes a hard turn, and he gets dangerously close to the dark side in that story.
Right.
And it does bring. I forgot exactly how the events happened, but eventually he does be brought back to the Luke himself, having gone through this grief, and in that story. It does tackle what a man would do having lost the person he loved the most.
Right.
His wife. And what that does to a person, how it changes them, how they go about doing it. And the actions that they take for revenge that are all these different things. So, yes and no to that question, especially with the question of that timeline, is you've seen how this character has changed, has grown, and it's still Luke.
Right, he eventually has to go back and revert to being that core character. That's why for me, as someone who read the book, who's watched some of the other iterations, me personally, I just didn't feel that with Odysseus. Like, I didn't feel like besides giving him less... Again, like charisma, or just, essentially being an ass. Like, because he was an ass in some of those points of those movies. Especially with the Cyclops, and we'll get into that now.
Oh yeah.
I just feel like it wasn't enough to deter from the story. Like there wasn't nothing in the story that made me go. They didn't make Odysseus like a damn. A funny guy or a clown or something, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to me, I would argue, especially because Matt Damon knows how to do it so well, there are moments where he's a smart ass in this movie, which does align with Odysseus' character, where he can be a smart ass, you know what I mean? In whether it's the book or other iterations, movies, game, whatever. So I think that's the whole point. Is like he's very much, and I know some people like. I've always thought of a lot of him like Batman. He typically wants to be the smartest guy in the room, or he typically is. Maybe he doesn't even want to, but he typically is. You know what I mean? So, and I think that's why so many of the guys that he rode with, the other veterans on his campaigns, give him so much praise because he was that. You know what I mean? Yeah. And to me, that just sounds like a Batman thing. You know what I mean? Of just like
I got you.
Everybody's like, love him or hate him, he's the guy. You know what I mean? Like he's the guy that you want on your side, type of deal, because he's the smartest. So, yeah. Leading that into the Cyclops thing, I get it. Like they did fun. Like they really changed that up. Where the Cyclops interacts and talks to them.
Not having him speak or anything like that.
Well, he did speak.
Yeah, it's true.
But even the soldiers acknowledged that he could speak. Again, I guess the one thing that they changed
to not have him, I guess, would be correct.
To not have him interact with them, Odysseus specifically is one major change in the story. Sure, but again, the principle of just that segment is still there. Of invading someone's home without their permission, taking from their home without their permission, and what Odysseus does is generally the same thing. Again, it's the same kind of segment. He blinds the Cyclops, and you know what I mean? Even though the Cyclops, he could have easily left, you know what I mean? At that point,
when he shoots him
with the arrow, he could have easily left. That, to me, kind of, him doing that was the same kind of thing where he's on the boat in the original iteration, where he's on the boat and he tells the Cyclops, like, I'm not nobody, I'm Odysseus, tell your brothers, the other Cyclops
in his
on the
arrogance.
island. Yeah, to me, that was kind of the same thing of, I don't want to say it's the same trait, like where he was being like witty or just being...
I think the word is prideful.
Right, prideful.
I think that's where it comes down to.
Too prideful.
Real quick, to drop back on your previous point, because you had talked about them breaking Zeus's law first.
Right.
Did they, though? And the reason why is because now...
let me be clear with that. Probably not literally they were the first, but clearly they were the first to pull off a trick like this.
No.
That's why it surprised so many people.
Not for the Trojan horse, not for that. For when strictly talking about the Cyclops scene, right?
Okay.
Because, they enter into his home, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Are they the ones, because now... In the movie, had they not made the Cyclops talk, it would have changed the topic around this. But because they do still give the Cyclops agency and the ability, since he can talk, unless we're pulling a Star Wars where the ability to speak does not make you intelligent, that would be a different topic. But if we're going on that logic where the Cyclops he's caring for his sheep, can feel the empathy of humanity, right? Our human emotions. Technically, then who attacked first? Who provoked first?
Right. Well,
if you saw the movie 3 times, do you remember?
If someone, the way just to break it down like this, if someone enters your home and they're taking your stuff, and they're invading your privacy, no matter which way you feel about it, whether you attacked first or not, that's your home. And
but
to
funny
me,
enough,
the Cyclops in any iteration, because he attacked first no matter what in any of those iterations, he started eating the men. That's the truth. To me, that was the same principle of like, while you entered first, you're invading my home, my privacy. So I'm going
But they
to attack.
they hadn't stolen anything yet at that point, or anything
No,
like
they
that.
did in the book too.
And-
They took his cheese. That they were eating.
eating the cheese.
That
Okay.
that's the same thing. Like, I'm not saying that they were threatening him.
No.
But he's a Cyclops. We got to also remember that this is a mythical, and not even, let's drop the mythical thing. This is a creature, a character that obviously, yes, might have, as you said, some kind of human emotion where he cares for these animals. But on that same token, he's not dealing with other humans. He's dealing with, in the books, he's dealing with other Cyclops and his brothers and stuff.
Yeah.
But even then, I don't remember that going into... and it's been a while since I read the book. It's been a while. I've seen the other iterations. I recently rewatched the 90s series and stuff, the TV movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
So, in those iterations, they don't have him interacting with no one, just like in this movie, but his sheep. So, I'm not saying it's the right way to act, but if that's the only way you know how to act, you know what I mean? You're going to do the first thing that's instinctive to you. Just like, again, if you saw someone in your home at night or whatever,
But
not even at night, but
Going back to
invading
that,
your
what's
home,
funny is I totally agree with that. Like,
Yeah.
if someone's invading your home, for sure, you have those immediate
you're
rights.
going to have that instinct to probably attack or say, hey, get out of here.
But what's funny is if you want to lay the breadcrumbs out like that, then you could go a step further in laying the talk about, okay, let's say that is the case, and if we're comparing it to that home invasion style, as of the law, if you shoot a person entering in your home and they get away and they live, they can come back and sue you, and they will more than likely win that case.
If you chase them.
Yeah.
Which
is interesting,
let's not
though.
forget, right? But Odysseus gave the Cyclops a reason to chase them because he shot that last arrow. He didn't just. He let them leave. Essentially, he heard that they were leaving. That's why he threw the helmet to just say, like, basically screw you. You know what I mean?
That's right.
When he threw the helmet, that's why Odysseus shot that last arrow. Because, again, to me, that was kind of replacing, like, oh, hey, it is I, Odysseus, in the book scene. It was more so like, let's make him an asshole, but let's make him an ass in a different kind of way. So he instead of taking the high road like Odysseus should have and left at that moment, he decided to shoot that arrow, and which in turn pretty much caused the chain of events that would follow that. So because of Poseidon. So anyway, that to me is like going back to that Odysseus moment. That to me is what was, again, kind of replacing that. But to answer you about that with the breadcrumb thing, it's like, yeah, to me, I don't think there's no way, like, to slice it any other kind of way. It's like, they invaded first. Should the Cyclops have known better? Because what I thought you were going to say was, you're supposed to, according to Zeus's law, and even their own, you are supposed to greet them into with hospitality into their home, which the Cyclops technically did not do.
Yeah.
In any iteration, from what I remember.
And yes, that was the ending point. It's just when you had said it led me down all the other topics.
Right.
But yes, that was where I was going with it.
Right.
So thank you for bringing that up.
Right. I get that, but again, we're talking about. And they acknowledge this in the movie. They say, because the men ask, are we going to stay here and, basically take this cheese and stay here? And they ask Odysseus this, and he's like, yeah, it's Zeus's law. We'll greet him when he comes. And the soldier responds back, do they even know who Zeus is? And Odysseus kind of arrogantly saying, like, it's Zeus. Everyone knows who Zeus is. Well, you're assuming that everybody knows that law. You know what I mean? That's kind of arrogant especially of a veteran of your stature, of his stature, I should say. He should know that not to assume that way. You shouldn't just assume that not that he knew a Cyclops was coming, but I'm just saying, like, he shouldn't have assumed that in that moment. That everybody knows who Zeus is.
In that limited time of thinking, though, where
Yeah, because it happens quickly.
Where it not just that, but it also to assume that you should be a higher thinking. As far as the times were consumed in that, they were just those gods that they were referring to, and so most people would have known mainly those gods. So it wouldn't have been so arrogant to think that, because it'd be like saying, "Oh, today doesn't know who Jesus Christ is?"
Yeah.
So that would also be
that is fair, especially since the Cyclops knows that his father is Poseidon.
Yeah. So
I do get that.
That would be just to me in that sense of, he still broke the law first. So
right.
To me,
two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, and ultimately
I think that
ultimately it's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
But also in that sense too, you're
I get it. I think at that point it's straight up cherry picking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just feel that, to me, if that, like,
I could see that.
Anybody could do that with anything. You know what I mean? I just, again, like you said in the last podcast that we did, we're here for entertainment purposes. And if we're going to cherry pick every single, I shouldn't even say cherry pick, nitpick every single thing, I think that you could do that with any iteration of the character again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I feel like also, though, it's easier to nitpick when you find something you don't like, or that isn't written in a way that explains things or shows things that should be.
Did you feel like this iteration didn't explain things well enough?
No.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was fine.
I only ask because of the fact that there are moments that don't clearly explain what we're seeing. Just like,
I think it's meant to be left to the audience.
I think Athena is the biggest thing of, like,
was that actually Athena or was it PTSD?
His guilty conscience?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like a person he was seeing, he was giving Athena a face, to talk to. So, and that's a whole thing that we can get into. But yeah, okay. So now we're kind of breaking it down. So we go from there. From the Cyclops, Circe, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't really have any issues with that one. That was a pretty dang scary scene.
Yeah.
Horror, that was like a lot of body horror stuff.
Do you know that was all done practically?
No, but that's great.
Yeah.
That makes me even more like, good job, because again, it shows what can be done practically, and I think a lot of people rely too heavily on CGI, and you forget how well those movies like Terminator and Jurassic Park thrived on practicality. Aliens,
right?
Just there's so many that practical effects, when done right, shot right, filmmaking is an amazing art, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
If you're willing to put the heart and soul into it. Spider-Man had a lot of practical effects. Gorgeous movie.
And that's a whole thing we need to get into, and we were talking about the AI thing off camera a little bit. I do want to get into that just a little bit. But yeah, man, the scenes with Circe, what an awesome. Like, I get it. It's not everybody's cup of tea, the horror element of it.
I wasn't, like, I didn't care for that one. Like, in terms of, not
but
in
did
the...
you,
well,
did you
let me
put
put that out so it's not, like, misinterpreted.
Right.
Not that I didn't like it, because that's not what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
I'm not a huge horror person.
It's not your cup of tea.
That was a lot. And I'm that was freaky, bro.
Yeah. And that's
and it accomplished what it needed to accomplish, though.
The reason I bring that up, and I wanted to get to the Circe thing, is because they dramatically change that section of the story with Circe and Calypso, where they kind of force that. Well, Calypso has her own section, and we'll get to that.
Yeah,
but
I remember a little bit of Calypso's section.
Circe, it's a lot of what happened with Calypso, where Circe sleeps with him, and that's one thing that I liked about Odysseus is that
she's supposed to be like super hot or something like that in the book.
Yeah, I mean, they're all goddess, you know what I mean? It's all their own interpretation. That was one thing that I enjoy about these kind of iterations with in particular this iteration of Odysseus is that they gave him more integrity. And what I mean by that, they gave him like more moral integrity with his marriage. That he wasn't...
They didn't just sleep around
and stuff. I like those kind of changes because it shows more strength to me. It's so easy to give into, you know what I mean, those kind of temptations. Yes. So when they do that with characters, I like that kind of stuff. I think that was one of the big problems for me with Gladiator 2 is because he was so loyal to his wife in the first one. Gladiator. Now you expect us to believe in the second one that he was having an affair with someone else.
I didn't see the second one.
Oh, did you not? Okay. Well,
I didn't want to.
It's a good movie, but that's the main, like the low-hanging fruit of it, is that...
they try to drag his character down?
They don't try to drag his character down, but in a sense, that's what they're doing. Like, they're not actively like, oh, he's a bad person for... Because it is men of the time. Again, we're going back to men of the time. They were known to have other wives in different parts of the world. And the women at that time, I'm not saying it's okay.
They had their concubines.
Yeah, some were okay with it, some weren't. So...
but no, it did add... To me... because not only was he loyal, she was loyal. Revealed in the movie, she's unweaving the thread at night, patiently waiting for her husband, you know?
Yeah.
Like...
And undoing the thread to even give her more time so she didn't have to remarry. And that was something interesting, too, because I want to say and I could be totally wrong here, but I want to say in the other iteration, and I'm speaking at this point about the other movie, the 90s one, which the reason why I refer to that one is because that one, from my knowledge, when I read the book in high school, they showed us that movie right after reading the book, the teacher that I had, and it was pretty much, they tried to get almost beat for beat the same story that's in that iteration of the book that we read from Homer is in that movie, and they did a really good job.
I don't think I've ever seen the 90s one. Because
it's good, it's dated, though. If you're going for an accurate portrayal, more accurate portrayal.
Because isn't that all stop motion, like the Clash of the Titans from...
No, you're thinking about Ulysses, which is based on the Odyssey, because it's another word, I believe, in Greek for Odysseus or Odyssey or something. Ulysses is the translation. So I think Kirk Douglas played in that one. I did not watch that one. That one's a 60s or 70s, maybe even 50s, with the stop motion. Okay. This one in the 90s was like straight up. There might be some stop motion, but it's not like crazy. They tried to use CGI, very early CGI stuff back in the day. So it's dated, but to me the portrayal in those films is nicely done as well, because again it's another iteration of the character that's, to me, was well done. But the Cersei thing, I'm going off. They changed a lot of that. In that story, she very much like Calypso, takes a hold of him and her kind of hypnotic spell, and she forces Odysseus to stay there, and he's there for, I think, like 8 years, and he's stuck. And in order to break that, Cersei forces him to sleep with her because she hasn't been with a man in so long, which in turn causes her men to revert his men back from animals to men. With Calypso, he ends up at that point, again in other iterations, when he goes to Calypso's island, there's a whole island of women, and he ends up falling in love with Calypso, and he kind of gives up.
I remember that. Yes,
he kind of gives up hope to go home. That's why I was interested with your take about him not wanting to go home, because even in other iterations he didn't want to go home at that point, but it was for totally different reasons. So he Well, I shouldn't say totally different, but it was the order of it was rearranged differently, is what I should say. Because I believe in that iteration, he falls in love with Calypso. He believes, I think he does end up forgetting that he has a wife to go home to. But again, this is all under Calypso's spell. And just like Calypso in this iteration, you don't see it, but clearly she's... When you hear the thunder and the lightning, Zeus is talking to her. They kind of do the same thing, but Hermes tells Calypso, hey, like, Zeus, basically, to break it down, is getting pissed. He can't stay here. He's not yours to keep. So that's why in the other iteration, she forces him off the island and says, and kind of in this one, she's like, build your raft, get out of here, you gotta go. And Odysseus is like, no, I don't want to go, like, I'm in, like, what do you mean you're kicking me off? And then she reminds him of, like, everything. What do you remember, like, you have a wife and son. I do
like Nolan's storytelling in that sense. I know some people don't like the non-linear. I think it can work, and I think Nolan's really good at making that story type work. Where you're going back and forth, because and the reason why I like it is because it forces you to pay attention, to watch little things,
to look for things.
And I think so many people...
Gives you a reason to go back and watch it again.
Not just that, but I think so many people, especially in this new generation, they don't have the attention span or want to have the attention span for it. Because they're always... It's like, there's some shows I'll watch and I'm like, why are you saying what I'm seeing? There's the storytelling. Show don't tell. And... I feel like a lot of it is sometimes some of these shows are done for secondary viewing. Like, they know people are on their phones, and it's like, hey, something exciting is about to happen. Look up from your screen. And I really enjoyed that about this movie, where you have things happening and you need to pay attention.
Yes. No, I get that. But it's funny because I think the interpretation is that... a lot of people are under the impression that Nolan did it in a non-linear way, and I don't think they realize that. And if I'm not mistaken, the book, the original poem, is told in a non-linear way. It wasn't until that, and I'm speaking specifically at this point about that 90s show, they told theirs in a linear story where they just went straight to it, which is fine, but I think that came to be the expectation. And that's the expectation, like you said, of a lot of things today. We expect a story not to jump around so much. You know what I mean? And this story did do that. I enjoy that kind of stuff because, to me, it does give me a reason to go back and watch it, especially if I enjoyed it so much. It gives me a reason to go back and look into things that I couldn't answer the first time, or didn't know the first time, or missed, whatever the case may be. Especially the stuff about... the stuff with Helen and her twin sister. I'm forgetting her name.
Oh, yeah. Because that was another thing that they changed in the movie. I won't even get into the other stuff, but it is funny that the most beautiful woman in the world at the time, or considered to be the most beautiful woman in the world, is as uniquely the face that launched 1,000 ships, has an exact look-alike twin sister. Well, I just think it's funny. I think, well, that's true. Like, that wasn't like a specific iteration. That was for the movie. Well, not for for this movie. That's for the iteration in general. Like, the way Homer wrote it, it happened like that. So, I don't, again, I don't mind it that much. But what do you mean? Like, you don't think, I'm confused by it. Sorry. Because... If I'm not mistaken, her sister wasn't a twin look-alike, correct?
She was.
And I don't remember that being the case.
Clem.
And I could be wrong, but as far as I remember on the story is that she wasn't a look-alike.
Was she not?
Or an exact look-alike. That was a change in the movie.
Really?
And so, because that was one of the reasons why Helen was so desirable, was because she was so beautiful and she was so uniquely beautiful. Her beauty was so rumored in that way.
I'm only getting here. Oh, yeah, you're right. No, Helen was not a twin in Homer's original epics, though she did have famous twin brothers named Castor and Pollux. In traditional Greek mythology from Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, Helen and her sister Clytemnestra, I don't know how to pronounce her name, are portrayed as siblings rather than twins. The idea of being the twin sisters is a creative change polarized in modern adaptations such as film portrayals. So I'm assuming they're just talking about this iteration of the Odyssey.
Yeah.
I mean, there could be other iterations. I thought I had heard that before. Maybe that's why Google was saying it like that. But I could be totally wrong.
Yeah. Because I remember it being just that.
Just that. I mean, yeah, no, it makes sense.
And that, to me, that was like, oh, okay, you know, because I had remembered it not being so, that she didn't have a twin lookalike.
Right, but even then, like, again, to me, that's kind of on the nose. Because, again, it's like, well, clearly, again, Odysseus stated it wasn't because of Helen. It's because Agamemnon was so power hungry and so the kind of guy that he is. I mean, I'm sure I don't have to explain to everyone.
Yeah.
Like, we know that type of guy.
In the movie, that was the excuse.
Yeah, exactly. That was just an excuse for him to launch, you know, the 1,000 ships. It wasn't really Helen. Helen, although took the brunt of that, she clearly knows in the movie, hence why she apologizes to, is it Temeculus, or how do you pronounce his name? Tom Holland's son.
Yeah. I'm not gonna even try.
It's funny.
Temelicus?
I think you're right.
Hey!
I think you're right.
Someone will correct me.
Yeah. I know. We're probably gonna get hella fucking roasted for all of that. But they know who we're referring to. Yeah. I'll put pictures in the shorts in the clips like I always do. But anyway, yeah. To me, that was just kind of like the excuse for his character.
Yeah.
To launch those ships.
To me, it was one of those things where it takes you out of the movie for a second because you're like, well, I know that doesn't make sense. Like, but okay. Like, what other thing that took me out of the movie, one of my biggest gripes.
Do you feel like, really quick before we lose that point, do you feel like that could have just been something that you missed, though? Because you said it took you out of the movie for a second when they explained that Helen is the reason for the launch of those 1,000 ships. I mean, I know it's a point I missed. I know it's a point I missed. Particularly in the first viewing,
when they say that she's an excuse.
Yes.
No, I didn't miss that.
Okay.
I just think it takes me out of the story in the sense that, like, I get the reasoning behind it and all that, but it takes me out of the story when even if that isn't your excuse, the way you're still saying that, because they use the phrase "the face that launched 1,000 ships" for a reason, because Helen is specifically known for her beauty and her uniqueness in that way. Mm-hmm. So when you immediately undercut it by doing all these changes to Helen, one of those being that she has a twin sister, it's like, okay, I have a second where it breaks the movie for a second, and then you get back right into it, and it's fine.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah.
That's an interesting take. I just didn't think of it in that sense, just because it's like, I guess because I caught that initial detail of, hey, like, it's sorry, I got totally
no I understand what you're saying. I caught, and not to say that I missed it.
Like,
I caught it
when that first dialogue between Odysseus, when they have that intimate moment between Penelope and Odysseus, that movie's so loud, there's so much going on, especially because it's in a non-linear way and you're kind of thrown into the fray. I missed a lot of that conversation when I first watched it. So I missed a lot of, like, Helen was a twin sister. I thought that was Helen that got thrown.
I think I got the advantage of that in the sense because I'm sure you saw it in a packed full theater and I really didn't.
Oh, okay.
And I also didn't see it in IMAX.
Yeah.
And so I will say one of the problems you see why people are complaining about it. I personally didn't have a problem with it, but one of the complaints that I had heard was because the sound mixing is off because things are so loud that you couldn't hear dialogue.
Really?
When you're in IMAX.
No, I heard about that.
And so for me, I didn't have that problem, but also I didn't see it in IMAX. I wasn't in a packed theater.
I heard about that.
So I got everything that I needed to get from the movie. I'm sure I missed stuff, but I didn't miss that.
Yeah.
And it also helped going back to, well, that was the excuse that they used in Troy.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, okay. And the same thing, it's just weird. It's just weird. It takes, to me, that was one thing that took me out.
For you personally.
Even knowing
Do you
the
feel
reasons
like that's
in the
a
movie.
general... Well, hold on, really quick. The sound mixing thing. I do want to address that. That's a stupid ass complaint, and I'll tell you why.
I'm not disagreeing.
I'm not saying you said that. I'm not saying that. Let's be clear. I'm not stating that you're saying that.
Yeah.
I heard that same complaint that you did.
Yeah.
I think that's stupid as hell because one of the things that, in particular, people were putting that scene to, or where they thought that the sound mixing was bad, was when they're on the ship being struck by Zeus, by the lightning. Is one of
that scene is actually a really cool scene.
I agree.
It's very loud.
But I don't understand. What is the what? I don't understand why people
shouting.
They're shouting. Instruction. Clearly, we hear what we need to hear when his. I forget his name, but his best man on that crew, the one that's with him the longest, the one with the big beard.
Oh, yeah.
He is. I clearly got, and I think everybody else did, what we needed from that conversation. The only important piece of dialogue is when he's telling him to pray for forgiveness. The rest of that was fluff. I mean, I don't think we were supposed to hear anything else in that. In terms of the sound mixing, I don't think we're supposed to hear what they're saying on the ship very clearly every time, because a lot of it is just talking about, row the boat this way, row the boat that way, giving ship commands. We don't need to hear that every time. I don't. To me, that's why that complaint of the sound mixing was stupid, because it was this movie, and especially those scenes in particular. They're supposed to be loud as hell. They're supposed to be impactful. We're supposed to feel Zeus's wrath.
Yeah. I think it was funny for me hearing that. I didn't hear anything when I went to go see it. But again, I didn't see it in IMAX, and I wasn't in a crowded theater.
Right.
So it was even still loud, though, when I saw it. To clarify, I probably shouldn't have said it like that. I don't mean like it was loud, like I overheard it, it was so loud that I missed it in that kind of way. I just mean there's a lot of details in that dialogue that is setting up the story that to me it's easy to miss, and I did miss some of those details, and I know other people did too, because some of the people that I watched it with were asking questions that related and went back to that particular scene. And particular for me was the stuff with Helen, that she was a twin sister, and because that was confusing, because we never saw those twin sisters in the same scene. To me, that confused me, because it was like we saw her in one spot where they're having that dialogue with Penelope and Odysseus, and they show that Agamemnon is tossing his daughter to the sea. And then the next time we see, I think her name's Lupita. I don't know her character. Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah,
that's the actress.
Right. The next time we see her character is actually Helen, and she has those scars on her face. So I took that rendition as the first time I watched it,
and that's why it confused people, because there was no twin.
Yeah. So when I had watched it, I talked to my wife Selena about it, and I'm like, oh, does she have those scars because they punished her for killing, his brother, but at the same token, they didn't want to outright kill her because maybe there was a law around it, or maybe because he's holding on to that piece of his brother. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So that's what I had took from that initially.
I see. And then, because even when I'd seen it from the first time, because you're listening to the dialogue, and if you're listening to everything, this is just me. I'd seen it just the once, and going through it, and I was like, oh, okay. When they said he took vengeance for his brother or son, the son took vengeance, and that's how Agamemnon was what's
Killed?
the word? No, he was
Greeted?
no. The correct word. He was avenged. There we go.
Oh, okay.
In killing of the sister, the twin.
Right.
And so I caught the connective tissue. It was just, like I said, the thing that really struck me was that it was just
the
having
launch of
it's just
1,000
having
ships.
a twin that didn't exist, and so like initially it was just weird.
Yeah,
but-
I get it. Like I don't think it's necessary, especially because that isn't the original iteration of the story. I get that. Like, yeah, it's not necessary. It's valid.
But no,
for me, that is where it confused me with the first time watching it, because there's never a scene where we see again Clementemestra, however you pronounce her name. We never specifically have a scene where they introduce her character or she introduces herself like there is with Helen. Yeah. You know what I mean? So,
but I think also another interesting debate that I've been seeing online, which is also interesting, is how they've gone about the worship of how idol worship was done at the time in those olden days.
Okay.
They worshipped these gods, and they were doing this worship, and those worships sometimes involved sacrifices, and kid sacrifices, and so that was a very common thing back in the day for worshiping these gods, these false gods in that sense. And you see that was very integrated in their culture. So I found it interesting. It posed a very interesting question, the same question to me that the warrior coming back, that the time frame of their society. Clearly that's horrific, and that in that worship, and it's not okay. But it's interesting that was, and I don't know if maybe you remember something in the book that I don't, because I don't remember exactly how he's killed. I know it's in some effect, but to use that specifically, was that the same in the book, or was that not?
Agamemnon?
Yeah, his death. Was it the same? The grieving mother?
I believe. Okay, yeah. So yes, from what I remember, yes, she, the sister, twin or not, that was Agamemnon's wife, and he did sacrifice his daughter to the sea. And she did with her lover, I'm forgetting his name too, because we don't see him even in this film. She plotted Agamemnon's death upon his return. So that was true. That did happen in the book, from what I remember.
Because that was one thing that I didn't remember in the...
No, yeah, that happened. And also, I'm not sure if you remember, because they do a tell don't show moment where they talk about where Temecula and John Berthold's character, again, forgetting these damn names.
Temecula?
Yes. They're explaining that the son of Agamemnon killed his own mother. And that happened too.
That's how he gets avenged.
That's
right?
how he was avenged. And Odysseus' son is like, while he killed his own mother, and John Bernthal is like, while it was that was his father, like kind of going back on that. Yeah, there's
one thing
again, to me, going before we go off anywhere, to me the accuracy, like, this is just me personally, it doesn't always have to hit right on the money. If you get the general idea of it, I'm okay with, again, like, I don't want to call it suspension of disbelief because that's wrong, but I'm okay with having a different kind of iteration. Like, this was clearly about a story about a man of regret and remorse and coming to terms with that, and being a new person at the end of the day. When it comes to those kind of, again, I'm going to call it nitpicks, where it's like, oh, well, they had children sacrifice and they sacrificed this and they idolize the gods in these ways. When they tell that differently here, I don't think it's always necessary to show that kind of stuff, because I think we got the general idea that they were willing to rape, pillage, plunder, and they say these things.
Oh yeah. I don't think you or I would want to see.
No, right. Anyway. Yeah, I'm saying people who debate this and complain about this.
Okay, I see.
Again, I don't want to put mouths into anyone's, or put words into your mouth or anybody else's.
I see.
But when people complain and debate that kind of stuff, it's like, we don't need to see that. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's a weird thing.
I think they showed enough of what needed to be shown, where
we saw them killing women, innocent, and maybe they're, I don't know how innocent they really are, but they were civilians. They weren't a part of the war when they were overtaking Troy.
Yeah.
We saw them killing innocents and regular civilians. They weren't just killing the soldiers. So that's why, even again, having that kind of remorse when they're about to leave, and they tell Odysseus, like, oh, we shouldn't pick up more, I think it's rations or whatever they call it. I believe it was rations, more from Troy. Odysseus is like, we've taken enough from Troy in the last 10 years. We don't need to do that. So we could make a couple more stops. To me, like, I don't understand why that's a problem for people of, like, these characters having, like, this kind of thought process of, again, remorse or forgiveness, or not. They don't always, yes, maybe back in the day, like, they might have thought differently, but that's why it's a different kind of iteration to me. It's like, first of all, these aren't actual historic figures. These are all these are all mythical.
Yeah, it's all
figures.
historic.
Okay, so moving on from the Helen thing and kind of where we were going with that, you wanted to bring up the fact of what was it? It was the music and also the
so the language.
The language.
We were talking
because there was a lot of debate on that online about the way that they spoke.
I think that personally, for me, that also took me out of it immediately.
Okay.
I didn't. Not that I don't think. There were certain parts that definitely didn't. I was fine with it, but when there were there was a lot of unnecessary cussing that didn't make sense. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I say one of the biggest ones was when they're talking about getting off the beach.
Okay.
And instead of saying something like, let's get off of this godforsaken beach or this godforsaken land, or something that would have sounded more in the time, they immediately go into modern vernacular.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right. And there were a lot of times that happened that really took me out of it.
Yeah.
I didn't like it.
I wouldn't say, my thing, again, it's, to me, I always go back to the interpretation thing, and I know I harp on it, but to me it's a big thing when I'm watching these films or reading a book, whatever. I don't mind the different kind of interpretation, but what I do mind, and I am going to pretty much agree with you on this, is not the cursing part. I don't care. Like, for me, it's like, whatever. I get it. Like, it's not necessary to use, and probably better choice of words could have been used in that particular scene. I don't like that almost the whole first half of the movie is there, especially Odysseus' son keeps referring to him as dad. Like the modern vernacular.
Yeah, that was another thing.
Here's the thing.
Instead of saying father or something.
Well, here's the thing. It didn't bother me because we heard about the modern vernacular thing, that complaint, when the trailer came out.
Yeah,
or the trailers. Daddy. Yeah. My thing is that, okay, if you're going to stick to your guns and do that, the first half of that movie, they pretty much stick to the modern vernacular. I don't really care personally. Like, the story's so good to me, like, I can turn it off, you know what I mean? And I could just ignore it. But the last half of the movie, especially when Odysseus goes to finally confront all the suitors.
Yeah.
He, again, I'm forgetting how to pronounce his name. Temecula or...
Nah, you messed me up.
Tamalicus, whatever. Tom Holland, he was specifically says, instead of, "You're my dad," like he's saying to all the suitors and everyone else, he specifically tells Odysseus in that moment, "You're my father." Okay, so you know the word father. I just don't understand that. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he continues towards the end of the film. They start to have like that, I don't want to call it Old English, but I'm not sure what kind of vernacular that they used back then, how to...
It's definitely not Old English, but I would say it sounds more... I think the correct word would be time, like... I don't want to say time empirical, but the time period, I guess, would be better.
Yeah. Point is, they start talking more proper for their time towards the end of the film, as opposed to like the whole first half and even the middle of that film. They talk in modern, like you said, modern vernacular. And then towards the end is where they decide like, hey, we're going to start using like the proper terminology and vernacular during this time. I thought that was weird. I was like, just stick to your guns at that point. Like, the movie's already almost over. Like, let it go. Like, at this point, who cares? So, I didn't care. And, you know, the other person that kind of didn't really have that modern vernacular, without the irony of it, was Travis Scott's character. Even though he didn't get a lot of dialogue, he didn't really have that when he's explaining the story of Troy in the beginning and towards the end.
I thought he was fine, honestly.
Yeah, I heard complaints about him. That was weird. I was like, he's so not in the movie. I don't understand how people
it didn't... surprisingly, that one didn't either remove me from the story. I'm like, okay, he's just another character, but people got so mad about it.
So many people that I watched the film with, like, they didn't even know it was him. They were like, that's Travis Scott.
I should say, that's not true. I did know. I never knew what he looked like, but I knew he was playing the bard. So the second I saw him, I was like, oh, so that's him. That's what he looks like. Okay.
Going back is like, he just didn't. That was the weird part, is he didn't really have that modern tone like the rest of them did. So that was funny. But Odysseus kept it all throughout pretty much the whole movie. Yeah. Again, up until that ending, like, they started saying some choice words where it was like...
and you can tell the difference in the ending of that film when you switch it up. Yeah. And you're like, now I feel immersed in the time. Like, it just adds another level to that immersion, to that movie, to that experience where you're seeing all these things in the, as you said, the Bronze Age and everything like that, you know. But then you hear things that take you back into our modern day. Yeah. And you're just like... You just get taken out of the story just enough, and that was one of the things for me. Yeah, one thing I did think
I do agree on that. Like, again, I didn't care until the end. I was like, stick to your guns, you know.
Yeah, one thing I did, I was firmly adamant that I was not gonna like was the music.
Oh man!
And I really thought, because you know how I feel about mumble rap. I don't like it, and I can't stand that style of rap. But especially when it comes to an epic like this, I was like, why aren't we using symphony?
You're referring to specifically the main theme song that Travis Scott. Yeah. He kind of...
And I was like, well, why aren't we using, symphony and all this? And when he composed it, when they put that together, the soundtrack, I was surprisingly like, wow, this is good. And I'm not destroyed from the movie. Dude. Like, even still, like, I really don't remember have an issue with
them playing that specific song up until the end of the credits. Yeah. So I was glad. Like, maybe I'm wrong. I've seen the movie 3 times. I should know, but I only remember it playing at the end of the credits.
Did he only do one song? I thought he did.
I think he only did the one. Because I've listened to the soundtrack by itself, and it was only
the one. Who's the composer on it?
I do not know his name. It's not Hans Zimmer, like Danny Elfman. It's somebody famous. I'm not going to discredit them, but I don't know.
I thought he did all of it. That was my impression.
He did, from what I understand. I think he helped Travis Scott produce that song too.
No. I thought Travis Scott did the soundtrack.
There wasn't... Okay, yeah. So let me be clear. I don't think there was like a dedicated soundtrack like there typically is. You know how there's normally the score and then there's the soundtrack? I think they legit had Travis Scott's.
Yeah, I thought that was the score and everything that he did.
No, he didn't do all of it. No, it was somebody else. And he did the music in this movie, phenomenal.
Yeah, it was good.
Ask me, it was, oh my gosh, when Odysseus strings that bow, dun dun dun.
Yeah,
that is so cool.
not hearing the symphony, like I understood everyone's complaints because I love score symphonies and everything.
Yeah.
But I was very surprised at how well it was.
Yeah, so. I thought it was really well done.
Ratings. Unless you had something else, I'm sorry.
One last thing, because we like Spider-Man Brand New Day, we didn't touch on villains. The main villain, which was, I forget his name, but it was the dude from Damage Control.
Oh, yeah.
I want to touch on Robert Pattinson really quick and give him his goddamn props, because he is hilariously such a good bad guy in this film.
He's a great actor.
He's just such a good classical bad guy of like such a coward. I was like, oh my god,
someone get these beggars out of here.
Or my favorite, and people,
that meme is amazing.
And people, when they're doing the TikToks and he's standing behind the pole, he's like, get the swords, get the shields. Like,
yeah,
just the whole time he's instructing everyone else.
He's too scared to do it.
Yeah,
it cracks me up.
Oh my gosh. Robert Pattinson is such a good such a good actor, and he's so good at what he does, and the way he's able to legitimately like go from this and then have his like such a portrayal like Batman, because there's such polar opposite characters. It's just like, it's amazing.
He's
to me
really broken out of his. That's the Twilight vampire guy. Yeah. Because I remember that was one of the things talked about when he did Batman.
My wife Selena loves that movie, loves that series.
That's hilarious.
I saw those movies growing up because my sisters, I have an older sister, and then, even my younger sisters.
I've never seen those movies.
Oh my god. I'm not going to sit here and say like Robert Pattinson is the worst actor.
I remember seeing
dialogue.
Clips. Well, I remember seeing clips when that movie was everywhere, and all the girls loved those things growing up.
Right, you had cousins, I remember Charlene and Charlize. I remember them loving it.
Not even just that, not even just family members who liked it, but just the girls in school. We'd see. That came out when
and stuff.
We were in middle school, I believe.
Yeah.
And I just remember all of that, and so I was like, I ain't gonna see that. And so, but it's funny because that was everywhere, and it followed him for a long time. And I do remember that specifically because even I said that when he was first announced. I was like, isn't this the vampire dude?
Yeah.
And
I thought the same thing when he was cast as Batman.
He's really broken out of that.
Yeah.
He's proved his salt as an actor.
Yeah, for sure. He's really good. I'm really excited for his next coming project, Primetime. He's going to be portraying Chris Hansen. Yeah. So I'm really interested in that. So yeah, props to Robert Pattinson. I just wanted to get that out.
No, yeah, that's funny.
Because again, we didn't talk about villains, and him being the main villain
of it. Yeah.
I thought he did a really good job. And same thing for the rest of the cast. Just to shoot off a couple names real quick.
Yeah.
John Leguizamo. Man, I didn't think he was going to be in this film that much. To me, he killed his role. I thought he played an awesome, he did a good job. Best friend role, like a loyal servant, whatever you want to call it. All the maids, especially the one that tends to Odysseus's.
Oh yeah.
When she recognizes the scar from the boar. Tom Holland, holy crap, man! The way he gets angry in this film, I was like, dude, we've seen him in Spider-Man and Avengers plenty. But his emotion, his raw emotion in the film, this particular film, was awesome. And same thing for Anne Hathaway. I thought all around the board, everybody knew what their job was, and they knew their targets. And in terms of acting, they hit it. You know what I mean?
And especially for Christopher Nolan not being known for really giving actors true direction. They all kind of had to just do whatever they needed to do or whatever the scene, what they best could to deal with it. Yeah. And they, for the most part, they all did really, really good.
Yeah. Same thing with one thing. My dad, he was talking about I didn't expect you know, because we see Matt Damon so much in, like, he's the Boston guy, you know what I mean? And we see him in these other kinds of roles. My dad even was like, oh, I didn't expect him to be that good. And I was like, hey, man, like, I agree. Like,
he did very good.
Shout out to Matt Damon. One of the best movies you've never seen with Matt Damon, and this for everyone. Scorsese film The Departed, his best role to me. I know people probably say Good Will Hunting or you know, Born.
That's what I thought you were gonna say.
The Bourne movies, like
okay.
The Departed. If you ever,
I've heard of it, never seen it.
Oh, great movie, movie. Watch that, and then we need to talk about that one. That's a very intricate film, just like The Odyssey or other films. Like, to me, Martin Scorsese's best film.
Okay.
And people, I know that'll be something to contend with because people will say the Goodfellas or whatever. Rankings. Let's get into that. I'm really high on this film. I think you can probably guess.
I can.
What my ranking.
Then you go first, because you're not gonna change your mind.
Yeah, no. It's damn near perfect. I want to give it a 10, to be honest with you, but to me, the movie just does everything a story should. It has a little bit of everything: drama, action, betrayal, love. There's almost something for everyone in this type of film. And as you described, this is just one of those stories that when we talk about modern Western stories, like, this is the type of story, and specifically this story is looked upon when and influences so many others has came after it. Hence why this, I think it's a 3,000-year-old tale, has lasted this long. So, yeah, I'm not going to give it a 10 because the language thing pulls me out. And there's little things that I think I would change that I didn't get to spat off here. But I think I'll go a 9 out of 10. For me to, like, be, in my mind, be fair about it.
Okay.
Like, for me, really high, like an A+ type of movie.
All right. There's a lot of things I don't like. In terms of the story, though, I've already touched on what I don't really care for, how things were changed. It's a good movie, well shot. Practical effects are great. I think you do find a limit, though, when CGI can be used when it's necessary. I think one of the biggest faults of this film was a sense of scale.
Really?
You don't really see the sense. Troy's walls look pathetic. Troy itself is weak.
You know, that was a whole real city, right? And they built parts of that city.
The walls don't look like they're impregnable walls that they've been you know, like a little things like that.
Yeah.
You know, where that sense of scale, you don't feel the sense of the armies. Even like, you know. And the best thing I can compare it to is like
that's the first time I'm just
in shots like Troy, where you see the sense of 1,000 ships. You're kind of basing, anyone who's seen that movie can base their knowledge of, or even just knows the story of the Iliad and the Odyssey.
Right.
They can 1,000 ships. This was clearly a huge battle. It's not just these few ships that we see in short scale.
Well, in terms of scale of men and ships and army, I understand that.
So yeah, it's the little. I think little
Troy
things.
is just, again, one of those interpretation things.
Yeah,
like, it's not just literally the walls of Troy. It's also the fact that these men were that the Trojan men were so I guess battle ready, battle their abilities in battle were so great that added to the lore of the walls of Troy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I also, but I also think that there's a reason why. Yeah, and I think walls. That is. I can't speak because I don't know the history like that. But if I'm not mistaken, it is one of the things they're known for. And so, to me, again, regardless of it is or it isn't, what we see in the film are not very impressive. So it's little things like that. The language, what I've already mentioned about. The movie in itself, though, is shot beautifully. I think it's fun. I was entertained for 3 hours, so I can't give it a horrible score. score, but I also can't give it something legendary. Solid 7 out of 10.
No way, dude. Oh man. Well, hey.
Yep.
That 7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's harsh. You're a harsh man.
I think you're overpraising.
You're Agamemnon.
Yep.
You sacrificed that score.
I think you hopped too much praise on it. I think so. But that goes back to the two different, there's two different opinions.
I'm a John Leguizamo in this scenario, man. I'm a loyal servant to this one. I can't help it. To me, it just it hit all the right beats for me. And a story and a movie, the type of entertainment that I like, I guess. To be fair, like you said, there are things that you don't dig about it, like the horror stuff. Scale, I do have to just adamantly touch on that, or not adamantly, but I have to quickly touch on that. I just want to say the fact, I'm not sure how much you're aware of the behind the scenes stuff.
I know. The ships
were real.
Yeah, that's why I didn't mention the ship.
So strictly, it's more scale on the Troy stuff.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you thought, though? Because, even the puppet, they built a 60-foot animatronic puppet for the Cyclops.
Yeah.
The cave, all of that. The locations
I don't
real.
think any of that was not a sense of scale. I think the sense of scale mainly goes through on those ends.
Because I thought you were generalizing that. The scale of the film.
No. Okay. The scale of the Siege of Troy is maybe what I should have hyped on.
That's why I was like,
because you don't get a sense of that army and the reasons why, but it's also not the story you're there for.
Yeah.
So, but to me, it was one of those little added on tallies where, and a lot of it had to do with how they shot the film. He didn't want to use CGI for a lot of it, and I respect that because it is a gorgeous film. And the practical effects that were done on it are great. Yeah,
the fact that they built a whole nother part of Troy just to burn down was awesome to me. Because it's Christopher. Yes, it's Christopher Nolan, but how much these studios are very stingy with their budgets. How much?
Not in recent times.
Well, what I mean is, we got paper pushers, right? And these people want to save a buck as much as they can. So we've seen in behind the scenes stuff. Literally, I'm forgetting the film, but where they're harping on directors about saving time on a certain scene.
Yeah, that was a lot of the case,
and that's coming from the studio. So I just mean it just shows how much they're willing to do just because Christopher Nolan's name is attached
Christopher Nolan, unlike other directors, and I do know this though, is he's known for on time, on budget, and not a lot of other directors are like that.
Yeah.
And when you were saying about that was a big thing before when they had controlled budgets, it was very much more regulated. Now. Those budgets have ballooned out of control for movies that they expect a lot of movies to make $1 billion for Marvel, Star Wars projects, the bigger studios.
Right. Even it's the highest rating.
Yeah.
I think Deadpool and Wolverine is the highest R-rated film in history now.
I think it just 1.2, 1.3.
Okay, so maybe I didn't explain this correctly then. I think from what I'm getting, you're referring to budgets in the sense of that they give the film when they first...
Yeah.
Like Christopher Nolan goes to them, hey, I need $500 million to shoot this film. That's what it's cost. I get that. That has ballooned. What I'm talking about is if Christopher Nolan goes and says, hey, this is going to cost a little bit more. And I didn't know that about him because you brought that fact up. Hey, this is going to cost more than what we thought to shoot that. That's what I mean of I know there's paper pushers at those, and there's
a lot of times
quick buck savers to save any kind of money that they can and increase their profits. There is a lot of those studio heads that only care about that dollar figure. So that's why, to me, even the scale of that scene is just impressive to me that it was done all practically, or at least for the most part. I'm sure there's some CGI in the shots.
I'm not saying
but the fact that most of it is practically shot, it to me just impressed me personally.
Because it's one of the things that, if done right, practical effects are just like what we see. Practical CGI was meant to enhance, not really to lean so much as a heavy crutch. And I think that's where a lot of filmmaking has really forgotten that CGI is an enhancer. The greatest example of those would be kind of like the Pirates of the Caribbean movies. Where a lot of that was, with the exception of Davy Jones, of course, it was all just enhancers.
But even them, they do a lot of practical effects on that film. I just recently watched behind the scenes stuff. All those films, man, the artists that they had on those films, the set designers, the makeup effects, all that stuff, man, really impressive stuff. I mean, obviously they had a Disney budget because that was in-house budgeting right there, but still, it was still really cool to see. And that something like that does remind me of that. So that was a really cool, fun little debate.
That was a fun back and forth of the Odyssey. I had a feeling when we talked on the phone that one day, because it wasn't brief. Or it was brief because we were like, we'll save it for, you wanted to save it for this. And I had a feeling we were going to be on opposite sides of the liked it or disliked it.
For me, it's definitely like a 4K Blu-ray day one type of buy. Like I'm willing to own that.
And I could honestly never see this movie again.
That's crazy. That's gonna be the part that I clip for sure.
I don't mind. I don't need to own it. I don't need to see it again.
That's crazy.
It wasn't bad.
No.
But it was one of those movies where it's like, all right, that was good. I saw it in theaters. If I see it again, I see it again. If I don't, no harm, no foul.
Do you have any regrets about not going to see it in IMAX though?
No.
I only asked because that was the intention of the film. You know what I mean?
When we went to go see it, it was pretty late.
I have not seen this in a regular format, so I don't know.
When we went, it was randomly one night when we both had time, and I went, and it was regular. I think it was the Harkins. And it sounded fantastic. I'm sure it would have been louder, but it wasn't like a quiet film. Like, it sounded great, and even in the regular format, it was loud. It was exciting. Big screen, had a nice seat. So to me, even seeing it not in IMAX, I still don't feel like I missed out.
Because aside from the sound mixing that I heard you bring up, I mean, I didn't hear any complaints or thoughts from your end about the quality of the film.
No,
of how it was shot. So
the shot, sound, for me, it sounded fine.
Story and everything. So that makes me sad.
I'm disappointed in your overpraise. But no, that's
Christopher Nolan, baby.
That's why I love it.
He's the guy. He's the GOAT. He's that guy.
He is an amazing film director. I will not take that away from him.
I'm not going to say he's perfect, but he's just up there. I think anybody could find one of his films and get some kind of enjoyment out of it. So, like me, I'm not big on Inception. I think that movie's overhyped.
I've heard different things about it. Never seen it.
Oh, you never seen it? I think it's overhyped. And I think that's crazy to some people. Like,
I also hear a lot of people talking about Interstellar because he did that one too, correct?
I didn't watch that.
And I never seen it.
There's a lot I haven't seen from him.
That one seemed...
I haven't seen Oppenheimer. I haven't seen Interstellar. I haven't seen Tenet. Like, I haven't seen Dunkirk. I think that's his. Or is it 1917? It's one of those. I think it's
Dunkirk.
It is Dunkirk, right?
I've never seen that, but I wanted to because I'm a sucker for war epics, and especially the those epics and that. So I'm like, interesting.
And that one got a lot of praise. So, the Prestige, great film. Like, I don't think people talk about that one enough. Have you seen that?
Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale, correct?
The Magicians.
Oh, I've heard that's a really good movie though.
Really, really good. All right, guys. So at this point, we are going to start the segment of agree or disagree. And Sergio, I'm going to hit you with a really basic one first. The Odyssey is Christopher Nolan's best film. Agree or disagree? 3,
man.
2, 1. Disagree.
I had a feeling that was coming.
I don't even know. Let me go first. My explanation is I don't even know if that's true because I love Batman.
That's why I was like, because just on a cinematic standpoint alone, The Dark Knight, even though it's debated as a good Batman movie, there's no debate on that is a dang good movie.
Yeah, all of them.
Yeah.
Like people give flack for The Dark Knight Rises, but just even as a standalone movie, regardless of if it's Batman or not, it's just a good film.
They're good trilogy, but The Dark Knight just alone. But yes.
Here's my thing. When I was in high school, I was already I heard of this story and I watched this story, and the other interpretations and mediums, and I read this when I was a freshman in high school. I was already in love with comic books at this point. Mm-hmm. So, comic books, the characters in general.
Yeah.
So when this story was presented onto me, I just fell in love almost immediately because again, it's so much of these other characters that we know and love take specifically from this story. And I just think Christopher Nolan, to me, just had the best adaptation to this story. I think the messaging, everything about it, obviously with the rating I gave it.
Yeah.
Again, there's so many Christopher Nolan films I haven't seen. I'm not saying it's definitively his best for anyone else. This is just my personal opinion. From what I've seen, man, even over the Batman films, I love those Batman films. And there's a lot of haters on those films, especially today.
For The Dark Knight Rises, I'm surprised at how much hate there is for that movie. But
even The Dark Knight, people...
Really?
Wow. There's so much contention online, The Dark Knight's not as great of a film as everyone says it is. I disagree with that.
I disagree strongly with that one.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best, not only superhero films, but there's a reason why it gets ranked as one of the best films in general. When it ends up on those top 100 list or whatever.
Yeah, that is an amazing story.
It's just so much compelling story in just The Dark Knight. I personally think...
That's longer than a minute.
Yeah, sorry. I personally think that Batman Begins, just to end that, Batman Begins is the better film. So I apologize.
You're good. I just had to get you...
No. It is... I'm going too long on that tangent.
But it's... for me, I disagree, obviously. I already gave you my ranking on the movie.
Yeah.
But Dark Knight, great movie. Again, I also never seen all of the stuff. So of what I have seen... I love The Dark Knight. I'll die on that hill.
Yeah,
I don't think I'm the only one dying on that hill. I feel like that movie is amazing, spectacular movie. You talk about regret and what it takes for you to stop. There's so many good lines. What a man's willing to do to save the one he loves. What sacrifices. How. Someone can take your words and twist them on you, twist your ideology. What a man will do when he breaks, when he loses the thing that he cares the most about.
His beliefs, everything.
And that's not, and I'm not just talking about Batman, I'm talking about all the characters in there. Harvey Dent, also, the Joker, all of them go through it, and it's such a good movie.
Right, and I agree, and I can't, I don't want to go too long on those, but yeah, I agree totally. The Dark Knight does all that really well. Mm. I just feel like this film did it better.
Yeah, it's crazy. Your overconfidence is your weakness. All right.
Highest rated R film at the box office says otherwise, sir. But okay.
We could get into box office numbers. All right.
I'm sure.
If you want to talk
Batman
numbers, we can go.
Batman has 3 films, so let's be fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a whole other topic.
That's a whole other topic.
But that would be fun. I would like to do a podcast with you talking about box office numbers because...
Dude, I just had some...
A lot of people don't realize how much right now they're losing. And
because the budget is inflated.
And it's the budget's not just alone. It's you got to remember marketing costs on top of that, and so many.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
just to go off of that, some guy on Instagram was like, "Oh, something about the Amazing Spider-Man 2." He's like, "Oh, that didn't even break even," and I was just like, it made. I think the budget for it was 200 million or so. Even though that movie sucked, I wasn't saying it was a good movie. And yes, it wasn't a success for Sony, but it still made over 700 million.
But was that
that was international and US. So domestic and international.
So what you have to remember too, and again, this is why it should be another podcast.
Because, yeah, you're right. I apologize.
Because there's so many different numbers. There's so many different numbers, and where that money goes, not just to the studio, because it goes. The international takes their cut, and international, I believe, studio only gets like 25%.
I don't know the numbers. I'm not going to sit to pretend the number. I'm not saying you are.
No. But yeah, it's cool.
I was just saying in terms those films, like just going by the numbers.
Yeah.
Technically, it wasn't a failure. It's just the story caused it to fail. And
I would need to look. Now I'm curious because I need to look those numbers up because it's also
what was
the marketing and then what was the takeaway.
Well, because someone had said it was on our clip where I said Spider-Man, no matter what, is going to be a big success, and I still believe that. Like I think any medium he's in, I was generalizing, whether it's cartoons, games, whatever, he's going to be a success. So that was me generalizing.
We'll do a marketing. Yeah. We'll do a budgeting thing. That would be fun to talk about. Agree or disagree? The Odyssey will be considered a great movie in 5 to 10 years. 3, 2, 1. Disagree.
No, you know what? I think I'm gonna go with your disagree. Here's why. Obviously, I'm really hyped up on it, but my thing is. The general consensus now, and I'm not saying with everyone, but there's a lot of people that hate on, where we just got into it, hate on The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
To me, it's still damn near a perfect film, especially for a Batman story or any kind of story. But I just feel like obviously there's recency bias and things like that. And then there's even nostalgia bias. Maybe that'll happen to me in 5 to 10 years with this film in particular. I just think that he's I disagreed and I agreed with you on that point is because I think there is going to be a point in time where people, like anything, they look back on it and they nitpick or they cherry pick, whatever you want to call it, and they go back through the story and what is that saying with Green Goblin? The longer you are a hero, the more they want to see you fail and fall. I'm paraphrasing, but still,
in spite of that's
you're right. In spite of everything you've done for them,
eventually they'll
hate you. To me, it happens with everything. Like the longer it is there to be great or be loved. Eventually eventually the general is going to be like, oh, wow, it actually sucks. And I think that's what's going to happen with this film.
Personally why I disagree with it is in the sense of where my number already sits. Yeah. I have a feeling that as time goes on, more and more people will, after the hype dies, after seeing it, after all those things, more and more will, and not everyone, but I think the majority will come to a same conclusion. Not so much that I'm right, but that, because I don't think so. I think that it will, like you say, just because of overall how people tend to drop things down and nitpick and everything. Yeah. It'll drop the story.
Digest it.
It'll drop it back down. So yeah, especially if, like you say, I didn't realize that was happening with The Dark Knight. That's wild.
Yeah, but see,
don't you do that internet with Christopher Reeve Superman?
Oh, dude, you need to be on there more. It already happens.
Oh gosh, that's wild.
There's no. It's kind of going back to what you were saying really quick. There's no understanding of how things were written in that time. So just because it's not how it is now, people think it's bad. Matt Damon was the best choice for Odysseus.
Oh, dang.
Agree or disagree? 3, 2, 1.
Agree. Only reason why I don't want to say disagree is because I can't I can't see anyone else. Like no other big name comes to mind that screams Odysseus. That screams that he would have done a better job.
Yeah.
There's no other, like, I can't see another actor in that role. Not in the sense of, like, even before I actually saw Matt Damon in the role, like, I couldn't think off the top of my head. You know who would have been a great choice for this role? This person.
Yeah.
So.
And he
did a good job.
Yeah, there's not much for me to add on to that. Like, I completely agree. I think because the story is so old, and obviously we haven't had a major studio film like this and a major iteration in such a long time, I think that, for me, kind of sways that. Like, if Christian Bale would have did his version 10 years ago, it might be a different story, you know what I mean? But we haven't seen that, so it's hard for me to disagree with that and be like, anybody else but Matt Damon could have played that role, because, like you said, he did such a good job.
So, agree or disagree that The Odyssey will win an Oscar award?
Yes.
3, 2, 1. Agree. Yeah. I think it's gonna win at least one of those awards.
Yeah,
there's so many different ones it could win.
Yeah, I don't even like where to start on it. Like, it's whether it's best supporting actress or actor for Tom Holland and Anne Hathaway. Like, like we touched on it a little bit. Even John Leguizamo, I think, could be up there.
Yeah,
because he played his role so well. Same thing for Matt Damon, best actor. I can't imagine that there's going to be another film this year, because obviously there's a lot of bias towards superhero films. I mean, I could sit here and say that Tom Holland's portrayal of Peter Parker in Brand New Day should be up for...
I thought it was better than the one he did in The Odyssey, personally. I thought he did a good job.
No, and that's what I mean, is there's so much bias against superhero films, is that, like, he should be nominated for Peter Parker, and I hope he is. I hope that I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But we've seen in the past that that's not the case. Where
it's something like this that'll get
like
it.
Christian Bale, or well, I shouldn't say that, because I think Christian Bale was, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that Christopher Nolan's name is attached to it. That they were doing, you know, the type of film that they were doing. Like Tobey Maguire, I don't think ever got nominated for Best Actor or Portrayal, even though he probably should have been. I'm not saying he should have won, but he probably should have been at least nominated. And I could be wrong. I'm not a big Oscar historian.
Me neither.
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that I don't think he was ever nominated for any of that stuff.
I personally never sat through those, but this one was a good movie in the sense of that. I felt like that would have been a good question to ask, because I feel like when it comes to movies like this are made for the Oscars.
Again, even with like someone with your score who's not very high on it, you can't deny that there's just things that there are to love about this film.
Even
whether it's the scale, whether it's the visual effects, whether it's the makeup, you know, the concept, anything, the storytelling, the producing, like there's to me, again, that's why it scores so high, is because there's a little bit of everything for someone in that movie, whether, you know, you love it or you kind of like it, you know. So well, dude,
we didn't get a chance to talk about anything else, but I think it was still good.
Yeah, well, you know, just to be clear, to the audience or whoever watches these, you know, I feel like Ned in Spider-Man Brand New Day, like, who the hell's watching this? To anybody that does care to watch this, we went off in a little bit of a tangent that we felt where we were just wasting time, and not only talking in circles, but really talking on a topic that I don't think neither of us were not only willing to die on a hill for something that doesn't...
Yeah.
I don't personally feel that we need to discuss. I'm not saying it's not a topic for others, but it just doesn't pertain to us, and that's not the kind of podcast that, you know, I want to run personally. So we wasted time, unfortunately, and it affected this podcast. But we'll get back into it, and we'll have fun the next time, and we'll talk about Ahsoka. Well, I definitely want to do with you a dedicated Star Wars podcast, because as you know, I'm not a big Star Wars guy. I think there would be good opposing interesting
That would be
views
fun.
and topics to talk about. And there's a lot that I could probably learn from that conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of things we agree and disagree even about some of that stuff. And there's a lot of cool agree or disagrees.
Yeah.
I want to talk about
I would
Batman
get you-
versus Darth Vader in that superpower beatdown.
Oh man, yeah, we could actually. That would be a fun one.
Because I know we had
when that first dropped,
thoughts.
we argued so much about that. But that's good nerd debating, and so I love it. Yeah.
Definitely got to do a dedicated, because you're my Star Wars guy. You are the Star Wars guy that in my life that I know. You know, I come to when I have a question of anything Star Wars related. So, yeah, man, this was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to talk about the Odyssey. I'm gonna have fun. You know, it's funny because we got cut off, even though we were time constrained. I definitely want to talk to other people about this, mainly my wife, because she's the one that went to go see it 3 times.
Oh, man,
so
yeah.
The next time you see me personally, we're going to be talking about X-Men 97 and probably more of the Odyssey, because, you know...
There's so much to touch on for sure, so...
Yeah. So,
I think...
And I'm sure
I think
even for us, like, this won't be the last time that it's brought up.
But I think it was fun, because I would be curious when I eventually listen to hear her take and what you guys end up talking about, because...
You know who I would love to hear also is your wife. About it, because you said she's not a big movie person.
No, she's
so
not.
I'm just curious, like, because again, this story is one of those stories that influences so many others. It's kind of like one of those big deal films, you know what I mean? Like, I am curious to know what her thoughts on it were. So
Yeah.
that would be fun if you could ever convince her.
Yeah, I will. I'll let you know. She's not... Like, she's very camera shy, though.
Oh, no, it's all good. We'll do an audio.
But I will say this. She was the one who actually... Because when I had first seen the movie, when we saw it together, I was like, oh, yeah, okay, we're watching the movie, and I'm explaining things there. And she was one of the ones, like, before I even had a chance to bring up the sense of scale, because I felt that way. And then she was like, it felt small in some areas, and I was like, interesting. And then we talked about it, and that's when I had known how certain shots were filmed, particularly in that one.
I guess
so
for me,
that's
interesting, because you say she's not a big movie person. I'm interested to know what other movies she has seen to compare those to. You know what I mean? So yeah, but I can't.
I think at
that point that's speaking for her.
Yeah,
so
I think the only thing I would say that, because of that I know, is she loves the first Jurassic Park.
Okay.
And so if I had a sense, because that's the biggest sense of scale movie that I would think.
Right.
But again, that's all speaking for her, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But if I had to say something, it would probably be that for her.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, hey man, it would definitely be an interesting episode where we could discuss more. But
Yeah.
I appreciate
if we end up doing it, we'll definitely have to. And at that point, it might just be us and our wives.
Yeah, no doubt. Because same thing. Like, Selena really wants to talk about this film as well. So that's why, for me, it's not done. The praises. We're still going to celebrate this film.
All right.
Over here.
Cool.
All right. Well, it was good having you on. I
good.
appreciate you being on again.
Yeah.
If you want to go ahead and tell the people where they can reach you at, or what you do. I know you're a man of many trades. So.
Yeah. Right now, currently, it's still the same thing. Call levelup.com, and my Instagram, Level Up Home Services. Find me on Instagram. Though I was telling you off camera, not only you, but another friend of mine who does business, who owns his own business as well, wants to have me more on podcasts with him and stuff.
Right.
And I've been talking about this with you for a long time. And so I think soon I'll be actually creating a dedicated page that's not my business for fun stuff like this podcast.
Yeah, podcast.
And I love whiskey and Star Wars, so we'll see what I come up with. And hopefully I'll have a new tag to send to put out there soon.
You got to invite me.
Oh, of course.
So I can tell you how nasty whiskey is.
And heresy!
How much I can tell you how nasty whiskey is.
Heresy!
How much Star Wars sex.
Oh, heresy! Get behind me!
Oh man! No, yeah. Well, I appreciate it. My name's Emiliano. This is the Bearmade Studio Podcast, And I appreciate you listening. Peace.